Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us for Rainbow Fish in the Classroom, Read and Draw with Marcus Pfister. This is presented by School Library Journal and sponsored by NorthSouth Books, the publisher of the Rainbow Fish series. I'm Kimberly Olson-Facke, Executive Editor of Reviews at School Library Journal, and I have the very great pleasure of being your moderator today. Marcus Pfister hardly needs an introduction, but he was born in Bern, Switzerland. After studying at art school, he trained as a graphic artist. His first picture book was published by NorthSouth in 1986, but his breakthrough was in 1992 with the publication of The Rainbow Fish. He's worked as an author-illustrator for more than 40 years and has won many international awards through that time. He lives with his family in Bern. Please welcome Marcus Pfister. Hi, Marcus.
So, good evening to everybody. Yes, here in Switzerland, it's already 8 o'clock in the evening. I'm excited to be with you today and to talk a little bit about myself, about my books. I guess it's the largest audience I've ever been talking to. So a huge thank you to all the students, teachers, and librarians that are joining this webinar today. I'm looking forward to answer a lot of questions in the end of this session. So let's just talk a little bit about myself. My name is Marcus Pfister, and I am the author and illustrator of The Rainbow Fish. I was born in Bern, the capital of Switzerland. Here you can see 3 slides of myself. I guess in the middle is a photo when I was in the kindergarten here in Switzerland. Switzerland is a very small country in the heart of Europe between Germany, Italy, and France. I grew up with, yes, this is the map, and you can see the red one is the little country, Switzerland. I grew up with 2 brothers and 2 sisters, so we were quite a large family. Regarding my own family, just 2 weeks ago, we spent a 1-week holiday in the south of Italy. So I would like to share the latest photo we did with the whole family with you. Let's start on the left with Miro, my second eldest son. He is 36 years old. Then with the red shirt, we have Sophie, my youngest daughter. She's 21. Nina, the older daughter, with her boyfriend Simon. And an interesting fun fact, she was born in 1992, exactly when Rainbow Fish was published. Then my oldest son, Yannick, with his wife Nicole, and his 2 boys, Jamie and Noah. And finally, me and my wife, Deborah. So back to my own youth time. As Kimberly said, I went to school in Bern, and when I was 15, I attended the art school of Bern. After that, I did an apprenticeship as a graphic artist in a small publicity agency. Since Zurich is the biggest and most important city for publicity in Switzerland, I moved after this 4-year apprenticeship to Zurich and worked there for 2 years in a publicity agency. In 1982, I traveled for 6 months across the USA, and that was a fantastic experience. Back in Switzerland, I started as a self-employed graphic artist, and from then on, I worked always at home. During that period, I just felt a desire to work more as an illustrator. So I just tried to write and illustrate my first book, The Sleepy Owl, and send it out to 4 editors in Switzerland. We will hear more about The Sleepy Owl later in this presentation. On the slides, you can see the German title, Die müde Eule, and the English version, The Sleepy Owl. So my very first children's book. Fortunately, it was NorthSouth Books that agreed to publish this book in 1986. And this was the beginning of a long-term partnership. Yes, and 5 years later, I created my 17th book, The Rainbow Fish, that was published in 1992. You know, Rainbow Fish became an incredible success and has been translated in more than 70 different languages. Here we can see some example. I see the Chinese one, Faroe, what else can we see? Thai and Greek. So there are a lot of different languages, dialects, even bilingual versions of the Rainbow Fish. Another Rainbow Fish success. This is a platinum record of a German musical of Rainbow Fish. I'm very happy if my books motivate and inspire other people to create new works and new projects. I wrote the lyrics for this musical and was very happy to be able to witness how the lyrics became music. For me, this was a unique experience. There are now 10 Rainbow Fish stories in the series, and I'm excited to read the newest story to you today.
I'm really delighted to introduce this to readers. My children grew up with Husker Du done in the Rainbow Fish style, and it was just the perfect way to know your lovely landscape. Rainbow Fish and the Great Escape is a daring story about sea creatures working together to escape a fishing net. And it's, as he said, the 10th book in the series. Rainbow Fish and his friends have only heard stories about the nets that come through and take away fish from the ocean. Luckily, they've never had to experience the danger themselves. All is peaceful until one day, Rainbow Fish and his friends come face to face with a trawling net. You are about to hear the entire story read by Marcus, so I don't want to give away the ending. I hope everyone's ready to hear the story of Rainbow Fish and the Great Escape, just published. Ready, Marcus?
Yes, thanks a lot. So I'm going to read the Rainbow Fish and the Great Escape, translated by David Henry Wilson. The Rainbow Fish was happily swimming through the sea with his friends. This part of the ocean had remained untouched by the world above. Underwater plants and corals bloomed and blossomed, and the colors of the fish shone brightly in the clear water. The scene was idyllic, and all the creatures inside it lived in perfect peace and harmony. The Rainbow Fish and his friends were in a kind of paradise. Every now and then, passing fish would bring tales of a different world. Complete shoals were suddenly disappearing, never to be seen again, with some species even in danger of extinction. And others carry stories like that. For the Rainbow Fish and his friends, these were just fairy tales and legends. But one day, their paradise came to an abrupt end. In the distance, the Rainbow Fish could hear a strange rumbling, which gradually became louder and louder. At first, just a few individual fish swam toward him, but very soon there were shoals racing past in panic. The Rainbow Fish and his friends were carried away in the great rush. Finally, the Rainbow Fish managed to talk to one of the fleeing fish. "What's happening?" he panted. "What are you swimming away from?" "Are you serious?" asked the other fish. "There's a troll net coming after us, and it's catching everything it can take from the sea." The Rainbow Fish had heard about troll nets in the scary stories, but he had no idea what they might be like. Whatever they were, the nets would have to be pulled or pushed by something. Probably by one of the floating islands that occasionally passed by. The Rainbow Fish had actually seen one of them that very morning. though he hadn't noticed anything that could be used for catching fish. The fleeing fish had also told him that the net wasn't just catching terrified fish, but was also sweeping up the seabed itself, damaging or destroying the plants and corals. All sorts of things were being trapped in the net, even large mammals like whales and dolphins. Now, everything happened in a rush. The gigantic net came racing through the water, and there was no escape. Neither up nor down, to the left or to the right. Many creatures were already trapped in the fine mesh, and the net seemed to stretch out endlessly. Relentlessly, the net now tightened as something began to pull it upward. Only little blue fish managed to slip through the tiny openings. He tried desperately to bite through the threads, but they were too thick and strong. "Go! Get the crabs and lobsters!" cried the rainbow fish. "They will be able to cut the net open with their straps, claws, and pincers." The little blue fish quickly swam down to the bottom of the sea. The crabs and lobsters didn't hesitate for 1 second. They were very happy to help their fellow creatures escape from the net. In no time, they had cut large holes in it and outswam the grateful captives. And so, the rainbow fish and all his bright and shining friends were saved. The rainbow fish still found it hard to understand exactly what had happened, since it was all over in just a few hectic minutes. Bemused and befuddled, he and his friends watched as the empty net was pulled up and finally disappeared above the surface of the water. The floating island now moved further and further away into the distance until it was nothing more than a tiny spot on the horizon. Soon, only the bent and broken plants and corals would still be suffering from the effects of this terrible experience, but it had been a day that they and the fish would never forget. Above all, they would remember who they had to thank for their rescue. The rainbow fish for his brilliant idea, the little blue fish for delivering the message, and the crabs and lobsters who had responded so promptly and had cut the net so quickly. All the fish and the crabs and the lobsters and the other inhabitants of the ocean gathered together now to celebrate their escape. It was one great victory for nature. That is the new story of rainbow fish.
That was terrific. Thank you, Marcus. It's a wonderful new entry to a really wonderful series. I hope now everybody is ready to see where Marcus works. Do we have a video coming up of that, Marcus?
Yes, exactly. So first, I guess we'll go through some slides to show you my house and my video, my house and my studio. Yes, that's the next picture. This picture shows us our house that we bought 33 years ago, and we still feel very comfortable here nearby the city of Bern. So let's just take a look into my studio. There are two workplaces, one to work on the computer and the other one to where I create and illustrate my books. And in the center, there's a small table for meetings. Of course, you will find there also some place to storage all the books and merchandising items. You will find here also a lot of letters from children, schools all over the world. On the picture, you can see some examples of wonderful decorated letters. And the children's drawing in top on the right, that's my own one. It's the proof that already as a young boy, I enjoyed drawing.
Wow, we have so many questions coming in. First, thank you, Marcus, for sharing about yourself. But I hope you'll be able to talk a little bit. It seems that everyone wants to know, where did you get the idea for Rainbow Fish, and how did you choose the character and the setting for the story?
Yes, very gladly. Well, Rainbow Fish wasn't the first book I wrote. It was already my 17th children's book at the time. My very first one was called The Sleepy Owl, and the real reason how I came up with the idea of Rainbow Fish was the Sleepy Owl. I'm going to show you how the Sleepy Owl became the Rainbow Fish when we drew together, so a little bit later. Well, now I had a new character, the Rainbow Fish, but the story was still missing. But as the fish was so colorful, I just thought about the idea to make him the most beautiful fish in the entire ocean. And then I just asked myself, wouldn't it be nice if he would share a little bit of his beauty? So I wrote a story about a very selfish fish, too proud about his glamour, who discovers the joy of sharing. Well, I realized quite soon that it wasn't enough just to share its yellow, red, or green scales, because even the other fish were colored too, no? So I just remembered the technique with the glittering foil that I used already while I was working as a graphic artist. And with some shiny and glittering scales, the rainbow fish became even more special, and I think his gifts became more valuable.
So we have a video to learn how to draw the rainbow fish ourselves. So it's a great time for the students, well, for anyone, to take out a pencil and paper and draw along with Marcus.
Well, regarding rainbow fish, we have to talk about my very first book, and it was called The Sleepy Owl. Accidentally one day, this book laid in that way on my desk. And as I looked the cover in that way, in my mind the feathers turned into scales of a fish. And now maybe I would like to do a little sketch how this owl can turn into a fish. So let's draw first the sleepy owl and draw a big arc, 2 feet, then the huge eyes of the sleepy owl. She's still sleeping. We need a beak, a lot of feathers. So maybe 2 little ears, and this was my sleepy owl. And as I showed you, I turned it in that way, and now we'll start to draw rainbow fish. I start with the caudal fin, then the body, rainbow fish, his mouth. The dorsal fin is very important. The eye of rainbow fish, and a lot of scales. And you see these scales look
similar to the feathers of the sleepy owl. Some more fins, and our rainbow fish is finished. And that was the birth of my character, the rainbow fish. Okay, let's start drawing rainbow fish. Of course, there are different ways to draw rainbow fish. I normally start with the caudal fin. And then I continue with the body of rainbow fish. I draw his mouth, it can be open or closed. The dorsal fin is quite important. Yeah, you have rainbow fish, and then all the scales that afterwards can be colored. If you draw rainbow fish, it's not absolutely necessary that it looks absolutely equal than my rainbow fish. Maybe there are also longer ones or thinner ones. But I guess drawing all the scales, the dorsal fin and the other fins, it may become always a rainbow fish, no? Or maybe another one, that one here. A little bit another form again. But in the end, it looks always like rainbow fish. And even if it doesn't look exactly like rainbow fish, it may become your personal rainbow fish. Even the colors may be, one time it's a little more yellow, another one more blue or green. But it's nice to create your own rainbow fish, a new character. So let's take this sketch. I already prepared it here on this paper, so I would take it like this, take a pencil and copy it on the original watercolor paper. Since I would like to have very smooth outlines of the fish, for example, I first wet the paper. Now we use some gray or blue. Paper is still wet. And now we try to do this smooth outlines. So in the end the fish really looks like swimming in the ocean. Now maybe coloring the caudal fin. Take some blue color. And we can even mix it with some red effects inside. And so slowly we will proceed to color this rainbow fish. Of course, if you draw your own rainbow fish, you can use any color you want. The fish doesn't have to look completely equal as rainbow fish. It's up to you.
Marcus. Amazing to see you at work at the desk. Many students want to know how you create the shiny scales. I mean, can you tell them how you came up with the idea and how the scales are made?
Yes, as I told you in the video, you won't find the glittering scales on my artworks. I have to place a transparent film over them, and I need to mark with black acrylic color where I want the shiny scales to be. In a special printing process, the scales become stamped on the printed illustrations just in the end of the process.
And I might have lost the thread. What medium are you working in the original painting?
This is just a normal watercolor technique. So you can call it aquarelle or watercolor technique. I thought it would be the most appropriate technique to show this underwater world.
Do you paint in other techniques, though?
Yes, it's clear. For rainbow fish, I have to use always the same technique. But while drawing other stories, other characters, I really like to use other techniques. So some of them, it might be interesting, you will discover in a new book that will be published next springtime. And this one will be called My Friend the Paintbrush, and just shows what we are able to do with other techniques. So if somebody is interested in different techniques, in black and white, in acrylic, in watercolor, in a lot of different techniques, just have a look at this book.
Is this 2026, you mean?
Exactly, springtime 2026,
okay.
Yes.
I can't wait. I'm so curious.
I guess this book should just inspire or motivate children to try new techniques, to draw, since the most beautiful things in drawing is for all kids, for all of us, you can't make any mistake. And that's the great thing in drawing. Just start, and it's not possible to make any mistakes. Maybe it would be interesting just to show this with the live drawing to the kids.
Yes.
The best possibility to show that is maybe drawing a penguin. So I just start with an egg. Just show it to you. Sorry. Just a nice egg. It's not a penguin yet, but we need just a beak, the round belly, 2 eyes, and maybe now you can already recognize what it could become. They're just missing two wings and the feet, and then our penguin is ready to swim in the ocean. But now if you are drawing penguins, it's not necessary just to start exactly with a perfect egg. Since, as with humans, there are also different forms of penguins, no? Maybe one could be very thin and lean, but if we add the belly, the eyes, maybe this one has very small eyes, again, it looks like a penguin. Completely different from the first one, but still a penguin. Or maybe another one, it's really a thicker one, a round one with gigantic eyes. Look at this. The third one, just missing the feet. And the wings. And we have another one. So that's the important thing for me. Maybe just the last one, a rectangular one, to have really 4 completely different forms of penguins. It works even with other animals. As I showed in the video, you can also draw rainbow fish in completely different forms. So this one looks like kind of a computer penguin or something like that.
Yes. Yes.
You see, there are no mistakes while drawing. That's for me, that's fantastic things. Just to show the kids, don't worry about drawing. Just start, and something will get out.
It's times like these, I really wish you were in front of the audience so that everyone could hold up what they've been drawing while they've been listening to you, because I love how you're holding up yours. Well, the people want to know, how long does it take you to write a book? You have one now and one coming out in the spring.
Yeah, that's a little bit hard to say, but normally it takes me about 3 months of pure working time to write and to illustrate the book. Since I'm working normally on different projects, or maybe I have to discuss the story with the editor, other technical problems, it will take about 6 months until I can hand over the book to the editor.
So someone in liberal school would like to know, how many times did you have to edit Rainbow Fish before it was all done and ready to go to the publisher?
Well, in the beginning of my career, I had to edit my illustrations much more than I have to do today, since, it's even a question of practicing. I have to edit in particular the sketches of my illustrations while I'm drawing the scenes with my pencil. The definitive watercolor illustrations work usually in the first version.
Okay.
But to make it clear, if you want to be good in something, you need to practice again and again and again. And so with the years, it becomes easier.
So San Lorenzo Unified School, shout out to San Lorenzo, asks, how much of your writing is inspired by your own life?
Well, several books have been inspired by my own life and personal experiences. In particular, the stories in my Rainbow Fish series. In 1992, when the Rainbow Fish became published, my first 2 children were 2 and 4 years old. So they were at the ideal age to inspire me to write and illustrate new stories. Another example is maybe the third book of Rainbow Fish. A quarrel between me and my older brother during my own childhood inspired me instead to write this book that was called Rainbow Fish and the Big Blue Whale.
Were you being selfish with your scales? Is that what you're trying to tell everybody?
Yes,
you and your brother quarreling? Yeah.
It's just in this story we were telling. It doesn't. Sometimes it's just a little thing that starts a quarrel now. So the brother says, "Why are you looking at me? That's stupid," and that's already enough to start a quarrel now. And we are talking about that.
And to start a story, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So we have students at Stone Valley Community Charter School have a really good question. Did you or do you make up stories for your own children or children in your neighborhood?
Well, I have to say not really, since I started my career before my own kids were born. But naturally, they have always been my first readers and influenced and inspired new stories.
Grant School would like to know, do you have real fish that you call rainbow fish? And Eagleton Elementary wants to know if you have fish or other pets.
When my children were younger, we had different pets like guess they're called gerbils, Guinea pigs, tortoises. And my second son, Miro, indeed owned his own aquarium, but there wasn't any rainbow fish in it. These were just a normal aquarium fish, but in the ocean they're living real types of rainbow fish.
Wow. Spring Garden Elementary, which is a beautiful name for a school. They want to know if you like to visit the ocean in real life or if all of this comes out of your imagination.
Well, it's a little bit hard in Switzerland since we don't have any ocean here, but we enjoy especially doing whale watching, for example, and observing these fantastic animals in their natural environment. So as we don't have any ocean here in Switzerland, we are going to visit the Azores, a group of small islands in the Atlantic Ocean next year. And I hope we will see some mammals, some whales or dolphins there.
Well, I think a lot of students are really curious about Switzerland. Poplar Creek Public Library asks, what's something that would surprise people to learn about Switzerland?
Well, maybe they know about the famous cheeses and chocolates from Switzerland, the snowy mountains, skiing, all these kind of things. However, Switzerland is a very small country with about 8 million residents. People speak 4 different languages and a lot of various dialects. So not everyone speaks all these languages and all these dialects, but in every region we have a French, Italian, and other style of dialects.
That's fascinating. It really is. In such a small country. We have Gemma, who's a homeschooler. Gemma, my daughter was homeschooled. And Gemma would like to know, what is your favorite color and which color repeats most in Rainbow Fish's pattern?
Well, blue has always been my favorite color. And I guess so you'll find a lot of shades of blue in this character in Rainbow Fish.
The East Stroudsburg Area School District would like to know, do you have a wise friend like the octopus?
That's a nice question. I like it. I guess we need all a good and wise friend. And I have a friend with whom I can talk about everything that concerns me. And maybe he is also a little bit wise. It's hard to say, but I think so.
Matthew from Santiago K-8 school would like to know how many books have you made, Marcus?
Yes, the story I've been read to you in the beginning of the session is my 17th book. So 70 books, I guess about 10 from about the rainbow fish. But I drew, I illustrated, I wrote a lot of different stories with other animals, about environment, about a lot of different themes. And I'm looking forward to some more, maybe in the following years. Who knows?
Many, many more. Vestal Elementary School asks, this is so great. What gave you the courage to become an author and publish a book?
I guess that's an important question for a lot of young people. To be honest, I have to say, I just tried it out. I wanted to have the opportunity to illustrate more than I did as a graphic artist in the publicity business. No, there I had to work with typography, with photography, and it wasn't possible to illustrate the whole time. And as I also loved telling stories, I just tried to create my first book, The Sleepy Owl, and send it to different publishers in Switzerland. And fortunately, the NorthSouth decided to publish it 2 years later.
Which is actually pretty quick in publishing. You know, sometimes you're off to a really good start there. That's great. Maryvale Primary School asks, did you like to write when you were a kid?
Well, as a kid, as a young man, of course, yes, I always loved to write and to illustrate. These were my favorite subjects at school, no? And yes, you saw one of my drawings in the presentation we saw before, but even, yeah, writing short stories, essays, I always love to do that.
School District 10, well, actually, this has come up among a few different questioners. They would like to know, what advice do you have for children or adults who might want to become an author or illustrator someday?
Well, the most important thing is just believe in you and never give up and keep on practicing day after day. And the most important thing, just do it. A lot of people dream to become an author, but they just don't try. They don't believe to manage this and they don't do it. Maybe you will fail, but even the way to write and illustrate your own book is just a fantastic experience. And even if your work will never be published, it's so a lot of fun to do this. Just try it. You have to do it.
Well, you spoke a little bit about that you can't make mistakes. Stonewall Flanders Elementary wants to know, do you make mistakes when you draw? And if you do, what do you do then?
Of course I do, and I did much more when I was younger. Yeah, the only thing, just start again, try again, and next time it will get better and better.
Fort Le Boeuf School District asks, what inspired you to write this book, Rainbow Fish and the Great Escape?
Well, The Great Escape is the 10th volume of Rainbow Fish, and I just felt that it was time to write something about environment problems of our oceans, the natural habitat of rainbow fish. And well, I hope this story may help a little bit to become even more conscious about our beautiful Earth and the way we can preserve it.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, can you talk about maybe the other Rainbow Fish books? I mean, do you have a favorite?
Well, I guess my favorite one is the third one. The second volume, for example, is talking about acceptance and helpfulness. A strange fish that got lost looks for a protection in the school of fish, of rainbow fish. And then the third one is one of my favorites, since it talks about arguments and how to settle them. For me, also interesting was the seventh one, since writing new story, you always are looking for a new input, a new perspective to draw something. And in the seventh one, Rainbow Fish was still living with his mom. So a story for younger kids. We go back in his history, and this was a nice story to tell for me. But please visit the website of Rainbow Fish and discover all the books of this character. They are explained a little bit about what they are talking about.
That's really good advice, to visit the website. The Muhlenberg branch of the New York Public Library, hometown library, asks, what about Rainbow Fish do you think has resonated for so many generations of readers? I mean, yeah. Good question.
Yeah, there are a lot of different explainings that for, but I guess it's hard to say. I guess something in this story touches the hearts of many people. It's kind of a basic need that stories end well, that everything turns out for the better, that the rainbow fish is able to change its character and discovers the way, the joy, the joy of friendship. I think it's one of the most important things for all of us now.
I think, yeah, I also think that it's just beautiful art. You know, it's a very easy way to introduce children to gorgeous watercolors. They glitter, they shine, they they just make such an impact. I think we have a question here from St. Edward's School. Have you ever studied art in another country?
Well, no, I traveled a lot in many different countries, but I never studied outside of Switzerland. I did the studies in the art school of Bern. And at the time, it was not that easy to find a university with this particular topic. So today it's much easier in Germany, in France, everywhere to even studies to become an illustrator, an author.
Oh.
But at the time, it was quite different. So at the time, we were talking about 45 years ago.
Well, I go back that far too, so I like hearing that there's so much difference. Things have changed. Kipling Elementary School wants to know, do you have a favorite children's book that you didn't write? You know, something you've read?
There are a lot of books I would like to have written and illustrated. For example, I like the books of Leo Leoni, Eric Carle, naturally, Helme Heine in Germany, Janosch, and many others. It's quite hard to name one particular, but if I had to, I would say Frederick from Leoni is fantastic, or Panama, what was the name? Panama from Janosch. And just 2 months ago, I discovered a new one, an actual title I love very much. It's simply called The Bear. I don't know if you know that, from Natalia Shalosh, really. It's a fantastic book. I loved it. I loved it so much.
What's the most special part of being an author of Rainbow Fish? You know, what does that mean to you?
Well, you know, when I wrote this book, I didn't expect that it would become this incredible bestseller. So working on Rainbow Fish, it was just the 17th book, a new story, a new character. But today, it's clear it's different. Afterwards, to feel this huge appreciation, to get all these prizes, all these letters and mails, was, of course, an absolutely fantastic feeling, a new experience for me. There are a lot of things I remember, even traveling in the USA. I remember one event in a Presbyterian church in Texas with about 1,000 students that applauded. And this is just an unforgettable moment that was just a gift for me from Rainbow Fish.
Amazing. Then we have some students in Coldwater Wilmore Regional Library. What does Rainbow Fish mean to you? Do you like that other people interpret your work differently?
I've wrote 70 books and everyone has a special meaning to me. Of course, the Rainbow Fish is the most important for me since it opened a lot of doors for me and all my other books. Regarding how they interpret the story, it doesn't disturb me if people interpret this story differently. But for me, it's important to interpret the story as a whole and not to isolate individual parts of it. That becomes difficult. No, you have to look at the whole story. This story has its meaning, and I guess, we have to respect the whole story and not to take just single parts of it, and it becomes a little bit difficult.
Mm-hmm. Well, what other Denver Public Library wants to know what other adventures are in store for Rainbow Fish.
Well, we just published a 10th one now, and actually there are no new ideas in store, if they mean this with in store. I let myself be surprised by new inspirations, and maybe somebody of you, of the audience, has a new idea for a new title of Rainbow Fish. Who knows?
Okay, so you mentioned in Switzerland that there are at least 4 languages that almost, that a lot of people speak. One student wants to know, how many languages do you speak, and how old were you when you became an author illustrator?
Okay, for the languages in Switzerland, we are speaking kind of a dialect. It's called Swiss German. And aside of that, I speak German, French, and Italian, since my wife is Italian. And unfortunately, my English is not as good as I would like it to be, but we're still working on it day after day. And how old I was with my first book, they ask it.
Yeah.
I wrote my first book, The Sleepy Owl, when I was 24 years old, or 24. No, I guess I wrote it 22 years old, and it became published when I was 24.
Amazing. Well, Laurel Plains Elementary School Library wants to know that out of the books you've written, was there one that was the hardest to write, and why?
I love this question. It's quite special. The hardest was Milo and the Magical Stones. It talks about our treatment of the environment, and I knew that a happy end would be too easy and far away from the reality. And instead, a bad ending wouldn't be accepted by the audience. No, it would be too sad for the kids. So I just looked for a solution to tell a story with 2 endings. And we find technical solutions to show to the kids in one book 2 different endings.
Oh, wow. What's your favorite character to draw?
Well, for me, it's important to have always new experiences, new characters. I enjoy to invent and to draw new characters. For me, it's much more interesting to work with these new characters, with new techniques, and to make new experiences and to grow with these new books.
Upper Canada District School Board, I think, gets the best, and maybe the last question we can take is, were you interested in writing as a child, just very young, or maybe did you know you were going to become a writer and artist?
Well, I guess the point where the first time I knew I would like to become an author and illustrator was when I passed the exam to the art school. Of course, even as a boy, I loved to draw, to illustrate. But when you are a child, you don't know if this is enough to become an author or an illustrator. And passing the exam to the art school was for me just a point to say, okay, I guess this would be an option for me.
That's wonderful. I think I could talk to you all day. I just think you represent so many hours of imagination for children that it just can't be, it's priceless. So what I want to tell the students or anyone, if you want to send Marcus drawings, letters, or more questions, please reach out to NorthSouth Books for contact information. Marcus, I have to thank you for joining us today, and I have to thank all the attendees who participated and sent in questions. There are, as Marcus mentioned, Rainbow Fish resources available at, get this, www.rainbowfish.us, including specific resources for this book, and you can download those for free.
Thank you very much, and thanks to everybody that joined this webinar. It was my first webinar, and it was a very interesting experience for me.